Unfortunately, things don't always go as planned. But fortunately, Bunnyshell has some tools to help you figure out things, and they require absolutely no Kubernetes or infrastructure access at all. So this being a troubleshooting session, let's take some concrete examples. I have here 3 environments which have failed in various stages. Let's take a look on what happened. So first I have the demo books, which I can see has the backend building failed. I'm going to go to the pipeline. I can see the red cross here indicating that the build backend job failed. And if I scroll down, I can see the step that failed, and it's already expanded for me. So I'm gonna go scroll down and see what happened. We can see here that there is no such file or directory, the package JSON, and we can check this out. I have here the repository from which the application is being built. I intentionally created 2 branches. One is called fail build, the other is called fail start, in order to simulate some things. So let's see what the diff is, and the issue is this one right here. I commented out the copy package JSON files, and this resulted in the files not being there, obviously, which resulted in turn in the npm install failing. So this is how you can debug the failed builds. Let's move forward towards another situation. In this case, the environment was partially deployed. I have the database and the front end running, but I can see that the backend has an error state. I'm gonna go again to the pipeline, and I can see that the part which failed is checking the component status, and again I can see that it checked 3 times before this pod for the backend was already crashing, and eventually we stopped to retry, basically, for the pod to become running. And I can see here that the container is terminated and the pod is exited. So not much information on what I already knew, that the backend was broken. Let's see if I can have additional information from the cluster. I'm gonna expand the component, which will bring me the Kubernetes resources associated, and I'm gonna click on the deployment so that I can see the output of the container. I have here the output of the container. I expanded it a bit, and I can see that the error is here when instantiating the app variable, and the problem is that express none is not defined. And if I take a look at the other foul play branch I created, this one fail start, I'm able to see that indeed the change was made from express to express none, which obviously doesn't exist and causes the service to be unable to start. So this is how I would debug a container which won't start. I would take a look at the logs. Just for the record, I have here the Kubernetes events also associated with the selected resource, which is the deployment in my case, and I can see that the container was created, it was started, and then very soon it was in a backoff restarting state, and then well, that was the end of the story. I can also see the Kubernetes manifest associated with the selected Kubernetes resource here. So this is something that might help me further. It's up to you to figure out what is helpful and navigate your way around. Just one more thing before we leave this environment. If you have multiple pods on a deployment, you can select it from here. And if you would have multiple containers, you could also select a particular container from here, or you could choose to see the output logs from all of the containers. So moving towards the last situation, here I have a fail caused by a generic component, and I can see that the associated job is marked as an error. And if I scroll down, I can see that I have a 401 supplied credentials do not pass authentication. And taking a look into the configuration to check the credentials, I can see here that indeed the API token is an invalid one. It's no longer the valid token that I expected it to be. So this is how you can debug things, troubleshoot things using the pipeline and the output of the containers from Kubernetes. And there is one more thing I would like to show, actually two more things. You can also perform SSH into given commands. This is actually a running environment, but it's not that important. So what I will do, I will open up an SSH shell into the container of this component. I clicked on the SSH button here and I copied the command. I'm gonna run it here in the terminal. Obviously I have my CLI installed and then my API token saved, so I don't have to input it every time. But this is a fairly trivial operation and you can find how it's done in the documentation. So I run the command and then I have access into a shell into the container, and from here I can see, I don't know, I can run any command. I can see what processes are running. I can see what consumes resources. I can output or follow log files, check connectivity, and so on. So this is how you'd use the SSH to help you in troubleshooting. And the last thing I'd like to show is a very common operation for databases or other kinds of services. So in this case I have a database. It's a Postgres, but it's obviously not exposed publicly. So basically only the front end and the back end have access to it, only from within the Kubernetes namespace. So if I'd like to take a look into the database to troubleshoot something, I would need to perform a port forward, and I can find this here. I'm gonna copy the command and paste it here. I'm gonna replace the port number with the one for Postgres. It's 5432, but just to show you the process, I would go to the database component and actually see that 5432 is the port being used. So I'm gonna put the port number here, and then what will happen is that I will have port forward from my local machine, the same port number 5432, into the container. And what I'm gonna do is create a connection. You can do this using any software. You're not bound to anything. So let me take the password and the username. These are located in the environment variables. And I can see here that the password, it's a secret, but I'm gonna reveal it. I'm gonna copy it, put it in the password field, and I'm gonna fill in the rest also. So this is the host is localhost 5432 is the port. This, I remember, you use this port, which is ultimately this port here. And the user was Postgres, and I have the DB, which is bunny_books. So user is Postgres, and the database is bunnybooks. I'm gonna test the configuration, and then I'm gonna save it and connect to it. And here I can see I have the table books with these 4 records inside. Just to double check, if I go into the front end, I can see that these 4 records, which are these ones here, are actually loaded into the front end. So this is how you can establish a database connection from a service or a database which is not exposed publicly. One more thing I'd like to show, if you have the port 5432 occupied, you can actually use a different port number on your local machine. And you can achieve that by specifying the actual port number that you'd like to use for both the local and the remote, right? So right now, if I run this again, I'm gonna have port 15432 on my local, and still the 5432, sorry, on the remote. So the connection dropped, as you can see. I will edit it, and I will change the port to match my local port here, and it's all good. I connect again and I can see the records. So this is how you can customize the port number individually. This was it in terms of troubleshooting with Bunnyshell. Hope you have a high success rate in solving your issues fast. Thanks.